The last 2 weeks, I mean, the news has been extremely interesting. I mean, last week, this time, we were talking about the squad. There was, you had, the president, I guess, singling the squad out, talking about how they seem to have a really significant problem with the basic principles, foundations of this country. And, I mean, it kind of went from there. What were your thoughts on everything?
I mean, you really have a socialist wing of the Democratic Party now, and you got these young socialist leaders in the Democratic Party that are becoming the voice of the party. Even the presidential candidates are parroting what these four say. I was on a conference call with President Trump yesterday morning, and he referred to them as AOC plus three. I think that's his. Maybe he's trying out new nicknames for them, but that's the one he was using yesterday. And the
also the four horsewomen of the apocalypse. I've heard that one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Congressman.
And, just take the personalities out of it, take everything else out of it, and just look at what they're saying on the policies they're pushing. And it's not a direction I think. At least I really hope the majority of this country doesn't want to go in that direction, where you're just demonizing everything that's made this country great over time, and trying to put policies in place that I believe would devastate our economy and devastate the way of life that we have, and do nothing other than make the government larger and put people we don't want it to have in control of what happens in our lives. So some of the things they say, it's almost like, you think, are they really saying that? Do they really mean they want to get away from all fossil fuels in 10 years? Do they really want to have open borders and free health care for anyone who comes to our country? And the answer is yes. I mean, these are policies that they're pushing, and it's the direction they would like to see the country go. So I'm glad we've got a president that will push back against that. I'm glad we've got a Senate right now that stops the crazy legislation that's being passed out of the House. That most of it's just messaging, and a lot of the messaging is based around what these four freshman Democrats are pushing. So you got the socialist Democrats that are setting the agenda and pushing the policy that comes out of the House, which none of it's really serious policy. I don't think if people could look at it and see it in detail, I don't think anybody would really give it the time of day. And then when you get serious policy that came out yesterday to raise the debt limit, there was no constraints put in with that. We've got this ballooning deficit. We've got debt that's approaching, or maybe even past $22 trillion. The accountants have been telling us for a long time that we're going to get to a point where interest on the debt is the single largest expenditure of the federal government, and we're fast approaching that. So we have responsibilities when we rack up this debt to pay the debt, which gives legitimacy to raising the debt ceiling. But my goodness, if we're going to raise the debt ceiling, let's put a plan in place to reduce the debt. And that bill yesterday had zero plan in it to reduce the debt. It was just to continue business as usual and not make any tough decisions. And I will say the administration proposed a lot of offsets, but Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would have nothing to do with that. So we've got a broken process. It's something I'm continuing to work on, and I'll continue to work on it. But you feel like you're in a real minority when you're talking about fiscal stability and getting our budgeting going in the right direction. And honestly, I don't think it's that hard of a problem to solve. But the more we continue to increase the debt, the harder and harder it's going to be to solve it. We live in a world where you have this baseline budgeting that has built-in increases in it every year, and if you if they've built in a 5% increase and you only increase by 3, then it's politicized as a 2% cut.
We're
So you can grow.
I understand that, and I'm glad you're articulating it that way, because it is, we have people that just want to spend money, Congressman, and I know you're not one of those. But let me ask you this. I mean, I agree with you. The debt deficit is a big problem. It used to be something we talk about, a lot. I mean, I'll admit I haven't talked about it as much. Seems like we just kind of ceded the ground. We just, okay, so we're going to have this. We're never going to get serious about it. And right now, people can make the argument, well, nothing bad has happened yet. So, I mean, I guess we can spend $30 trillion more on top of this. I mean, why not? And that is I think it's very dangerous. It's irresponsible. It is doing stuff to the next generation. We're living, at their expense. It's very immoral when you think about it. But at the same time, there doesn't seem to be any, anybody in Washington that, has enough power to actually fix this problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a minority of the members of Congress who I think have the moxie to go in and fix it. And I think most people recognize that it's a problem, but it's so much easier to spend something that you don't have than to make a decision to say no somewhere. And the media doesn't help out at all, because it's, like I said, if you've got a baseline budget that's saying you're going to have a 5% increase every year over the next 10 years, and you want to drop that down to just a 4% increase, well, the headlines are going to be, you vote to slash all these programs when you're actually spending more money this year than you spent last year on it. If we could hold spending at the same level we had it the year before, I mean, we could make a dramatic difference in the deficit and still spend the same amount of money we spent the year before. So it's not unsolvable, but it's hard to get the votes to do it.
Yeah. No doubt. We're talking with Congressman. Go ahead.
We rail on socialism, but I always like to use Margaret Thatcher's assessment of socialism. She said it works great until you run out of other people's money. Well, what are we doing in this country? We're spending our future generations' money today, and we've been doing that for a long time. So if we want to truly talk about the ills of socialism, let's talk about how we're spending money that we don't have right now.
We're talking with Congressman Bruce Westerman about, the events of the day. We talked a little about the squad. We just talked about this thing that happened this week with this budget deal. We're going to basically raise the debt limit. We're not going to have to deal with it until after the 2020 elections now. What were your thoughts, though, on what happened Wednesday? I mean, I know you're not on the Intel Committee or the Judiciary Committee, I believe, but what were your thoughts with Robert Mueller and this testimony that was finally going to prove something new, even though we've had the report for 3 months? It didn't seem to me that it was really a productive day for Democrats.
I don't think it was a productive day for Democrats. It definitely wasn't a productive day for our country. Instead of debating bills that we could address, health care and those items that are really driving the debt and the deficit, they're running the circus over there, beating a dead horse. And I don't know how many times this makes it they beat the dead horse, but I don't think anything new came out of it. I don't know why it's not being publicized more that there was a vote on impeachment last week. They brought the papers to impeach President Trump. That there was a motion made to table the vote, which passed, but there was less than 100 people that voted against tabling the motion. So this narrative that's being made that all these people are ready to impeach the president, when they had a chance to vote on it, they voted the other direction. So to me, that that should be a signal that it's time to end the charade and move on with doing what's best for our country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, it did get a little bit of press, but not nearly as much as you would think. And now, I mean, kind of going back to the squad and AOC, and you know, there's still people on the left. I mean, I saw some folks out in Hollywood, even after the disastrous performance of Mueller, the mainstream media actually saying and admitting that this was bad for their Democrat narrative and the impeachment narrative. There are still people on the far left that are going to want the impeachment. And so now you have Nancy Pelosi. She's in an awkward position, you know? I mean, is she going to allow which I think Nancy's a radical leftist myself, but I mean, is she going to allow the folks who are even further left than she is to control the party?
Well, the socialist Democrats here are making Nancy Pelosi look more moderate, and I've always thought she was extremely far to the left. But I don't know that she's still got control. I think they've captured the narrative. That the telltale sign is how the socialists put something out, and you got the candidates in the Democratic primary that just gravitate to whatever they say and embrace those positions. So it seems to me like they're on a path of self-destruction, or else they're on a path to destroy the country.
That seems like it to me. Well, Congressman Bruce Westerman, we appreciate you coming on. It's always great to have you, sir. Appreciate you going over the events of the last couple of weeks. It certainly has been exciting.
Well, if excitement's what you're looking for, I guess you can say it has been exciting. Maybe I even heard that the TV drama wasn't what people were expecting it to be on the hearings with Mueller. I saw an article up here about some bar that opened up early, hoping people would come in and watch the TV, but they said there were very few that showed up. So,
wow.
You know, in other high-profile cases, they get a lot more attention on things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the luster's wearing off of this one.
I agree. I think that the ratings were certainly bad. I'd rather be forced to watch an episode of Days of Our Lives than have to sit through that entire Mueller testimony. It was really rough. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
Congressman Bruce Westerman, I appreciate it, sir. You have a great weekend, and enjoy your time back in Arkansas during this recess.
Thank you, Paul. Have a good one.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Congressman Bruce Westerman, everybody, will put this video up at conduitnews.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell to receive notifications.